Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another session of Counter Trends and Reversals this time. Last week, we talked about momentum and most of the intraday and scalping. Until today, actually, that's really the easy money and where the most of the market, especially in the US, is trending towards to. I think most of the picks that Leonard gave, especially for research and CTS, have done really, really well. So if you haven't, I suggest you prioritize on that end and use that to your advantage, especially during these overbought situations that we're seeing outside. Okay. So the Philippines is a much different scenario. And that's why I figured we talk more about counter trends and reversals because they're much more abundant in the Philippines. And I have this picture over here of Warren Buffett and David Portnoy, who's obviously more popular today for making calls in a lot of traditional or your basura stocks that you're seeing today in the US. So a lot of the stock picks that he gave recently were one, Hertz, then other parts about airlines and other parts about Carnival. And these things about trying to enter these, especially at the bottom, what you see here during these times, okay? They always say na parang andaling gawin eh, right? Trying to purchase these guys at the bottom. But I always tell people that these are very difficult and hard money and should be the least of your priority. Okay. So people see this as it works. And if you compare this, for example, like what we have in the Philippines, parang gumagana. Okay. So if I show you different examples, some of the ones that are coming from the bottom, right? You see stocks that says APVI fall 90% from 240 to as low as 20. And now people are trying to pick these bottoms, right? Signaling parang reversal, eh, diba? So APVI, you have your US, um, and the reason why people see it work, it's because you see stocks, for example, like Dito Telco, especially the rise here from 250 all the way to as high as 4 pesos per share. Okay. So it's very common for people to think, oh, sige, the next one that we see and the next stock that we see, baka yun na rin yun eh. Okay. But I'm sharing these things to you guys because reversals isn't as simple as most of what we're seeing. Okay. For every PXP, for every Dito that you see, you might think that the next reversal that you're planning to buy, yun na yun eh. Okay. But please understand the rules to the game and expectations for reversals are totally different. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand first, even before these breakouts start to happen, right? You'll notice that a lot of these start to form a basis first. And it goes even for stocks outside the US. And let me just show you guys. If you guys see this base here from 250 to 2 pesos per share, these are the bases that I'm saying, okay? Even in the US, there's a base here at the bottom where it's consolidating. And these are very common. Okay? Now, what I'm just trying to point out here is that not all bases are meant to be bought. Okay? So if you're planning to see and you see a base that's happening, there are three questions that I want you guys to ask first. Okay? The first question is, why are these stocks down? Okay? So why are the airlines down? Obviously, because of what happened on the COVID, and you can't travel anymore. And the next question you should ask, does it make sense? And if you ask me, of course it does make sense. I mean, there's no business, nobody's flying. You can make the same case about Dito Telco. Why is it down 90%? And the reason why, it's because they couldn't deliver. And yesterday, it was already announced that they wouldn't meet the July expectations. And it doesn't come as a surprise. Okay? Now, and then the third thing is, even though it does make sense, the next question is, will anything change soon? So will Dito Telco, for example, be able to deliver on their telco expectations and even for next year of 3,000 telco towers, okay? Now, every single stock is different, okay? I'd like to point out, every single stock is different, okay? Now, if you don't have this checklist, this is just a basic checklist. And if you don't have this checklist, I highly suggest you skip reversal trading and just go back into trend trading and momentum that we have. Okay? Because if you're going to get lazy trying to do these simple checklists, I'll tell you, reversals can be very painful. Okay? Because they take so much time and effort sometimes, right? That by the time nag-breakout, pagod ka na. Okay? So, Hertz, after breaking out, obviously it went up. and it filed for bankruptcy, obviously it goes back down. So everything here makes sense. Will anything change soon? My answer is parang wala. Okay. American Airlines breaks out, goes back all the way down. Does it make sense? Of course it does. Okay. There's no one flying. Will anything change soon? I don't know either. And my personal opinion is not anytime soon, especially in this pandemic. Okay. Now, if you keep on doing that simple process, those three questions, I'll tell you, it will be easier for you to participate in the next reversals and capitulation. Okay. I hope that's an easy exercise. And so I have here on this chart, for example, is Apex. The reason why I put it here, these are actually not my priorities because if you're, I love gold. I love gold miners. I love precious metals, but I'm buying them in the U.S., not in the Philippines. Okay, but I wanted to point out this example because this is the only thing that we have. Okay, and there are bases that are formed here, and when they start to break out, right, then you try to understand why is it breaking out, right? Because gold price is going up, and Apex is starting to ramp up production, or because they made 50% in the first quarter. And second quarter should be much better because gold obviously went up another $200, $300 per ounce in the same period. Okay. So why these things are going up, and it answers the question, what's happening or what's changing. Now it makes sense. Okay. So not all, because if you guys see this circle that I pointed out here, these are very common formations that you'll find out even in the Philippines. MPI is also the same case. Dito also went through these small pullbacks after breaks out. Now, I'm just asking you guys to just pick and choose which one you should be buying. Okay, just try to understand and put that exercise into what you're prioritizing and what you want to be buying altogether. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So we always talk about counter trends and do you buy the falling knife, right? We always tell people they are laggards for a reason. John Maynard Keynes always says irrational can remain irrational for long periods of time, right? And till today, it still makes sense. Okay, so why are we still participating? It's because I always believe that there's a lot of money to be made during these turns. Okay, where I feel the best traders and the mediocre traders differ is the best traders is just a matter of stock picking in reversals. That's just it. Okay. And having the discipline and the patience to pick and choose which one you want to be buying is incredibly important. Okay. So what I'll do here is try to give you simple guidelines, actually, which I already did. And we'll probably break down the capitulation stage versus the reversal stage. Okay. So first things first, the objective, obviously, of counter trends is that we're trying to take advantage from these extreme sell-offs. So the other part about the assumptions, especially for counter trends, okay, is that the primary sell-off should be driven by market sell-offs, not fundamental. Now, this is totally different because this COVID pandemic created so much sell-off, especially fundamental basis. And that's why we're treating this one as slightly different, okay? Now, that's the first assumption for that initial sell-off. Now, what we're seeing here today is unless fundamentals are changing, okay? And I think that's a key part about counter trends because when you're going through those three questions that we talked about, so what is the market thinking? And has anything changed? This is the part where you have to try to identify whether the fundamentals of the companies that you're buying are actually changing, okay? Now, the expectations obviously is that stocks will revert back to their fair prices. But you also have to understand that reversals, if you're stock trading and it's reversals, you have to sell everything. Okay? It's not basically selling half and trying to hold the balance. Your intention is really, your expectation is really to sell everything as it finds a way to surge. Okay? So again, those three things about understanding the pandemic, we always give you guys the type of businesses that you should be prioritizing. Work from home stocks obviously should be your biggest beneficiaries during this pandemic. Same thing with your energy and your consumer staples. Okay, so things that we don't like, especially in terms of business, okay, is that just try to understand which ones will be profitable and which ones will not be profitable. Okay, that's a very easy very easy to see. So malls, no way it's gonna make money in the next few months. Restaurants, Jollibee, there's no way the restaurants will make enough money. Bars, same thing. Um, what else am I missing? Okay, but I think you still understand that point, right? And I think the idea here is that you just want to focus on the ones that will be robust, will not get hit, or grow. That's all we're asking. So not affected in terms of sales, not affected, or will in fact grow. That's what we're asking for. Okay, only things we're asking for. Other things are skip it. So there's an IPO coming about Converge ICT. So at least we understand the reason why they're doing it today. It's because they're participating in the stocks that will probably benefit from this COVID pandemic. Okay. Now, these things here about profits, our margins going up and down, are a little bit more difficult to do. Okay. What I want you guys to just take a look, for example, when screening stocks or looking at companies, skip the ones that have very low margins. So what do I mean? Frutas, low margins. I think margins of Frutas are 3%. Jollibee, 2.5%. These are least priority in my opinion. Okay, try to stick with companies that are still profitable or at least breaking even and can have some form of control in their cost. Okay, this is important because this one will always be in question. This part here in sales will be in question. Okay, so what you want to do is try to find the ones that will probably be the least affected during this pandemic. Okay, and then the last part that I want to talk about for fundamentals, just to make it clear, okay, is your ABS-CBNs. Okay, my only question is, good luck. Okay, excise taxes, the ones that will be affected, such as URC. I don't know what's going to happen. And the least that you should probably try to forget are the ones that are going through capital raising exercises and need to raise capital in the short term. What do I mean? Megawide, for example, running out of cash because of their debt levels. Okay, as much as possible, skip. Okay, because you don't want to get into the point where you get diluted also. So marami yan, Megawide, CHP. Because a lot of these guys, if you look at it, parang nagbo-bottom out, mag-reverse. Okay? And I've seen people trying to play the bounce on some of these companies. If you ask me, pass na ako. I mean, I'm not saying it won't go up. That's not my point. I'm just saying that since it's already difficult, you might as well pick and choose the ones that have a higher chance of winning. Okay? I hope that's clear. So this is just a recap on that initial sell-off that we had on capitulation. Usually what we're looking for is some form of one-day reversal that we can find. Okay. We've gone through this many times in terms of buying and selling. And usually these, after massive sell-offs, you're looking for these, what we call one-day reversals or some form of engulfing, buying the next day, and any stock that is starting to quiet down after coming from a massive sell-off. Okay. So remember, these are all buying the next day, and you'll probably not see them a lot today, but I just wanted to show them, okay, because at least the next time it happens, you are prepared. Okay. So I hope that's clear. Okay. So this part here of this capitulation is this one. This is what we're trying, and playing the bounce here. And the reason why you have to sell everything is because we don't know if this will stay here or roll over. Remember, you're going against the trend. Okay, I repeat, you're going against the trend. To convince the market that they are wrong, please, it's very difficult. And when people start to make this certain burst in share price in that short amount of time, you have to think about selling everything. Don't be afraid if stocks will continue to rally, because I will tell you, it will give us many chances to participate. And I always quote Jason on this because it's always better to be late than to be early. Okay, so we'll talk about this really, really quick because this is not the important part about this presentation. The more important part is the reversals. Okay, obviously, price is the most important indicator for capitulation and volume. Okay, so obviously, you want price going down substantially and volume continue to increase. Usually, the other indicators won't tell you much. They'll just confirm what you think is happening, which is there's a huge panic happening outside. And that's why we start to use ADX, because ADX is probably a better indicator for us. Just trying to confirm that the sell-off is happening is irrational in terms of that level. Okay, so ADX above 50, MACD will be way below zero. No need to even try to argue with that. And usually volatility will be very, very big on this end. So I might as well give you guys examples so it's easier to spot. Okay, this is Ayala Core. Okay, this is Ayala Core. This sell-off here, MACD is way below zero, and then ADX above 50. First uptick by the next day. Okay, hope that's clear. Okay, and it's during these times when you have this sell-off, okay, we're trying to sell everything. Okay, we're trying to sell everything at these rallies. So, and I always tell people, you should think about selling off at every single moving average that you'll encounter. So there's a moving average here, actually, it's your 10-day. Okay, this one is your last resort. Sobra na yan. Okay, so people tell me, paano yan? I miss out in this entire move after. And I tell people, well, if you can make money, this is 390 to 600, you make 30, 40% these moves. That's more than enough when everybody is losing money. Okay? Because I'll tell you, even if it goes up, it will give you many chances for you to participate going forward. Okay? And this is what we're going to talk about because it's what we're seeing here today. Ito, pwede na ba yan? Okay? But we'll talk about this later. Okay? So same case, this is BDO, massive sell-off, MACD very wide, ADX above 50. Same strategy. Okay, and I want you guys to point out, because if you don't sell everything, and it falls all the way back down, I'll tell you, okay, it's very difficult to be rational when these sort of things happen. That's why when these surges happen, you should always, always, always think of trying to sell everything. I'll tell you, this rally already from 90 bucks per share, all the way to 115. That's 15, 20% in a span of 2 and 3 days. Okay, guys, this is not the market to be asking for a lot of returns. The reason why, it's because there's still a huge headwind approaching us from a fundamental perspective. And every money that we can try to scalp should be chances for us to take money off the table. Okay, so if this is all complicated and difficult, the best thing to do is just focus and buy a ETF and buy the index fund. Okay, it's the same concept. ADX 50, rational selling, first uptick, buy the next day. Think about selling at every single moving averages. Okay, whatever happens next, personally, is hindsight, in my opinion. Okay, so I hope that's clear on that end for capitulation. Okay. So just some other tips, like what I mentioned a while ago about selling. You should think about selling targets. You have your 50-day EMA. That's maximum. Normally, what we're looking for is just when it's hitting a certain moving average. It actually depends on the steepness, but usually every single moving average that it hits, we're always trying to think about selling a certain position. Okay. Nonetheless, after any of these rallies, you should always think about selling everything, because most of these guys are always prone to a retest. Okay, great. So I wanted to get through that part really fast. And the reason why, it's because I wanted to talk more about here in the reversals. Okay. Sorry, before I get there, there's a question about buying in one tranche for capitulation. And the answer is yes. Okay. These things happen really, really fast. So if I go back, let me go back really quick. Okay, go back really quick. So if you miss this, you guys see this day that I'm pointing out? Let me put an annotate really quick. This day. You miss this day? If you miss this day, hindi ka na makabili. I promise you. Okay? That's why you want to be fast, very alert. And that's why when you try to make the alert, you have to figure out and trying to be buying right away. Because if you miss that one day, it's very difficult to chase. Okay? And it's the same case here on BDO. Okay? You miss these days of buying one day and then you miss this day, wala na. Iwan ka na. So you should always think about buying this in one tranche because when you're going through irrational sell-offs, the moment is the time window and the time is very, very small in that nature. So you want to try to be as active as you can when buying these stocks. Okay, good question. Okay, so going forward, talking about reversals, and this is the tricky part about reversals because in the Philippines, most of what you'll see are your traditional industries. And the reversals can sometimes be above the 200-day, like this first picture of this diagram. And it can be at the 200-day, or it can even be slightly below the 200-day. Okay. Going back, which one would you pick? Obviously, the stronger the rally, it tells you that there's more optimism in towards that stock. Okay, versus something that's still below the 200-day. But I'm not saying that it cannot rally. It can rally. The question is, going back to those three questions, what do you think is going to change? Okay, please, guys, I always tell people, understand fundamentals. This is the time where fundamentals will make you a lot of money because just understanding what you're buying gives you that confidence to participate in mental preparation to anticipate as well. Okay, so reversals are actually the same thing as what we call in terms of position trading. We have usually your coils and your resets. So these are both duration patterns. You guys should know this by now. And same thing when we talk about these stocks. Oops, sorry, made a mistake. Trying to annotate here. So when you talk about coils and we talk about durations, remember coils are 4 to 8 weeks. Your resets are 4 to 6 months. Okay, so usually these guys are either consolidating at the 200-day or making big moves above or below the 200-day. But it has to be very near the 200-day. I think that's the key point that I wanted to point out here. Okay, so this is what I tried to point out because we like the telcos, and this is Globe as of this morning. And if you look at the chart, you'll notice that it's three months into the reset. Okay, and these are bigger patterns that you're trying to see, and these are for us the priority of you guys who are buying stocks. Okay, I think you'll probably see a re-rating for Globe and PLDT. So BLDT is actually much stronger. And it's really simple for us. They're the least affected. They're very defensive in nature. They should grow, and they're more than 5.5 to 6% cash dividend. Okay, in a period where there's no interest today, people are getting 3%, even less, 1.5 on the bank time deposits, 3% interest rates. We think the dividend yield of both Globe and PLDT are still very attractive even at these levels. And so for us, these are no-brainers. Okay, if I could sell puts instead, that would be my ideal scenario. But nonetheless, for us, same case. These are, you just need to be very patient. That's the hard part in the Philippines. Okay, I hope that's clear for both PLDT and for Globe. Okay, so it broke out today. Just expect a channel that's just trying to pull. Don't think that these guys will run away. Well, if it runs away, I'm happy, but I'm just trying to keep my expectations in check. I think most of these guys will still end up as channels. Okay, so just to draw it, what do I mean? Meaning it's just going to go up slowly. It's not going to go up in a straight line. That's what I mean. Okay, great. Now, other questions that we have. What about Ali? What about SM Prime? What about BDO? Okay, some people have been asking the alumni, can we buy these guys? This is what you're seeing, right? Same thing with your MACD. Okay, my personal opinion, I'm not touching these. Okay, these are not my priority. I do believe that most of these guys are oversold, and you'll probably see it rally. I don't know how big, whether it will break out. I don't know either. Okay, I'm still very concerned for majority of these guys because of earnings for both third quarter and fourth quarter. Nonetheless, if it's oversold in terms of the short term, I do agree. That's why it could rally, and that's why you saw the market rally. In fact, okay. I think these guys need more time. Okay, I think these guys need a bigger reset. Okay, this is what I personally believe in. These are least priorities in my opinion. Going back, we made a great call also in terms of first gen. Unfortunately, I was not able to maximize it because I sold everything on the tender offer. I didn't expect everything to get tendered, but I think some people were able to just tender half and be able to hold the balance. And I think those are more big, should be your priorities rather than these guys who are trading at the bottom. Okay. Same cases. So Ayala Land and SM Prime are very similar in nature because these guys are the heavyweights. It looks like it's going to break out topside. It looks like this is what I'm seeing. Okay. Personally, I think it needs more time. Okay. So these are least priority in my opinion. It's really up to you if you want to be buying it because you have nothing to do or you're trying to participate in these flows of big caps. I'm willing to sit this out and be very patient. And I think that's the best scenario or best option for majority of the ones that are trading. Okay. Now, BDO and same case. This is the weakest. Okay, your bank sector is the weakest. Metro Bank, BDO, BPI, they're the weakest of them all. Okay, and if you go and take a look at financials in the U.S., they are also the weakest sector. And the thing is, we don't know how much of an impact most of these guys will happen in terms of NPLs for the third quarter and fourth quarter. I think what we're going to see today is the critical part. Why? It's because as companies start to reopen, the question is, lalaban ka pa ba o hindi? Okay, so just case in point, I have a favorite bar. It's called Moksha in San Juan. I'm always there, right, for the last 18 years. Early this month in June, they announced that they will open and they will operate, inviting guests to come. And 2 days ago, after 1 month of announcing that they opened, they decided to shut everything down after 18 years of operations. And I think you'll see this very common all throughout the small, medium enterprises. And that's what we're waiting for and we're trying to see. And that's why the bank sector is always the one in question. Do I think banks will go into a bank run and go through a liquidity crunch? My answer is obviously no on that end. Hopefully no. I think most banks are very liquid. In case there's something that's going to happen, it will happen on the small banks. But I think the small banks will have a sort of merger or merger with some of the smaller banks that we might see. I don't know. It's still very too early to tell. I think third quarter earnings would be the closest call for us to see. Okay. So somebody asked me, can we buy it? It's really up to you. But my answer is, I'm gonna pass on this one. You're looking at 101, and then what are you gonna sell? 106, 107, 8, 9. You're probably looking at 5-6% upside, unless you're planning to hold it all the way there, which I think is too optimistic. For me, the risk reward is just not here, and most likely I'll be passing on this one. Because when you're buying it here, you're putting your cut here at 95 level, right? And I don't think the risk reward is given the hit ratio, the risk reward isn't good enough, in my opinion. Okay, good. Okay. Now, it's the same case about what we're seeing outside. Um, the reason why we have sort of stocks like this, this is Pluralsight. This is one of Leonard's favorite stocks. It's part of the research list, and these are very common. They actually look very like. So if I show you SM Prime, for example, trying to consolidate, Pluralsight is the same case. It's at the 200-day. Because Leonard likes it so much, it's the reason why we're participating in it. Okay, because our expectations are very much different from these stocks versus these stocks like BDO, SM Prime. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to point out here. When you're buying reversals, please take a look at the type of companies you're buying. Answer those quick questions. I'll tell you, the hit ratios and the profitability of reversals and capitulation are extremely, will go higher. If you can bring your hit ratios, for example, of reversals from 30% to 40%, okay, that's 10% more. That will significantly make you from an unprofitable trader into a massively winning trader. That's just it. 30% hit ratio to 40%. Okay? Because every 3 stocks becomes 4 stocks that you win out of 10 over time, and you keep on doing it, it will compound and do you so much better as you continuously repeat the same process over and over and over again. Okay? So reversals are very common, even outside. Your precious metals are the same case. And we think most of these things that you're seeing, gold, silver, we like it, and we'll probably see these guys start to consolidate, same case. Okay. Now, if you're outside in the US, we might do a seminar on options, because what we've been doing recently, especially for gold and precious metals, is that we've been selling puts. And it's fantastic, because we don't know how long these reversals will take. So what we're doing is that we're just trying to get the premiums in the short term, and over time, it's continue for us to keep on building those premiums every 2 weeks on our end, because we're already timing it. So if I could do the same case, for example, for PLDT and just sell puts on that end, I would do so heavily in PLDT also in the Philippines. Unfortunately, we don't have that access. So I'm just trying to point out here, reversals take time. Okay, reversals take time, and the faster the reversals, and I can show you, for example, Hong Kong stocks also that are reversing. The ones that have reversed the fastest, obviously, are driven by fundamental reasons, not by anything else. And one of the stock picks of research also, 772, China Literature, continues to break out even up until today. Okay, so that's that. The buying and selling for reversals are still the same. It's the same as position trading for coils and resets. So it's easy to measure what your R is and what your risk reward is. Just have a little bit longer expectations when it comes to reversals. And please remember that everything that you're buying is going into durations, Darvas boxes, or VCPs, whatever you want to call it, and not in magnitude. Okay. Again, please be extra picky and choosy. Not all reversals are the same. And if you had to choose, pick the ones that are stronger than the weaker one. Okay. So that's that. And I'll leave you guys with a quote from George Soros. He always says, "I'm only rich because I know when I'm wrong." I basically have survived by recognizing all the mistakes that he's done. And I think this is the same thing when it comes to reversals, and today's environment, right? We'll be wrong a lot of times, and during these times, when you're wrong, you want to make your losses small and your winners big. But the thing is, about making your winners big, you have to identify where those sectors and where the priority in terms of money is flowing. And like what we said, prioritize on the big caps, prioritize on the work from home stocks, prioritize on the ones that will be least affected by this COVID pandemic. And over time, I'm sure you guys will do really, really well. Okay. So just to show you other examples, so this is Zhong'an Online Insurance. This is what I'm trying to point out. Where's my... If you notice, this initial reversal that you see here, rallies, goes back all the way down, rallies, goes back all the way down. Okay, that's why I'm saying these reversals can sometimes take a lot of time. But when things are changing, like what I'm pointing out, and starts to break out, now our perception is totally different. Okay, some other stocks that we have after this reverses, every single duration coil for us is an opportunity to find a way and participate. Okay, so it's not just in the Philippines, it's also in Hong Kong, it's in US. All we're asking from you guys is just to pick and choose, obviously, which one you can participate the best. Okay, so I'll answer some questions on the Philippines. Some have asked about Bloom. Okay, same case that you're seeing today. This is it. First quarter of Bloom was bad. Second quarter was also bad. So questions about Bloom. I'm also not comfortable during these stages, for example, for Bloom. Pogo pulling out. Number of people actually going to the casinos have gone down tremendously. And I know these are very tempting, so it's really up to you if you want to participate. But for me, pass na dito. Okay, good. Other questions about... Let's start with DNL. Okay, maybe I just need to overlap this. There we go. Okay, I don't even need to erase anything anymore. Okay, so if you go through DNL, they are weak. DNL is very weak. Okay, so this is still below the 50-day. Personally, I think it's oversold. There's a chance that you might see it rally maybe to the 6 peso level. Okay, DNL is not out of the woods. I think DNL is still going through a little bit difficulty because most of their business is coming from restaurants and hotels, and obviously they're shut down. So it's going to take quite some time. I do love the company, and if you have a long-term horizon, which is, I assume no, because we're all traders here, pasta rin ako dito. Okay. Next is Mary Mart. Okay. There's nothing, I have nothing, I mean, I don't know what to say in terms of fundamentals because they're doing it in terms of operating leverage. But what I do like is what's happening. Hopefully this gives us another day, quiet some more, and then you'll probably see our blue sky breakout here. Okay, these are stronger than the market. I usually classify these guys very different from Dito, PXP, and the other basuras. And the reason why it's because most of these guys are 1 peso yung IPO price. Okay, it's very different from buying stocks that are coming from a major downtrend and now starting to break out. Very different, very different. Okay, in this case, I'm making the assumption that everybody is still profitable in this scenario, which hopefully you still are. Okay, so you can trade it as it is. These are not for long term, obviously, and for traders, these should be priority for you. So many people are asking about MWC, and the reason why we talked about this before, because right now it's above the tender offer price, right? And I don't know if people are trying to imagine it similar to first gen, because first gen just did their tender offer and it exploded 30%. Let me just pull out first gen. Okay, tender offer 2250, boom, 27. And I don't know if people are assuming that because of what happened to first gen, people are assuming the same thing will happen with MWC. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it. I think I still like water. I think the utilities should be defensive. So you can participate as is. Like what we said last time, we think ASEP would probably be a better defensive pick, although it seems weak. And the reason why it's because Manila water is going to be injected into AC energy. So the portion of Ayala will probably be injected into AC energy. So we think that AC energy would probably be a better play than buying Manila water on that end. But it's really up to you, and you can participate whether you want to or not. Okay. What else? Pure gold is very similar. I won't show up the chart. Pure gold is very similar to Globe. Okay, so these are very defensive stocks. They're resetting above. They're very slow. That's why we just chose PLDT because we felt PLDT had the higher upside versus everybody else. Okay, now into restaurants, Max's and pizza. Okay. I'm worried about restaurants. The largest franchisee in Pizza Hut just announced bankruptcy. Pizza Hut, the largest franchisee in US, just announced they're going bankrupt like 1 hour ago. I don't know what's gonna happen to the restaurants. I've been eating at restaurants almost every other day and trying to provide help, especially to the ones that I love eating at. And the 30% occupancy, even 50% occupancy is not going to cut it. I feel so bad for restaurants right now, and I'm trying to do as much as we can. As hopefully you guys can support all your favorite restaurants also. I'm very worried. Shakey's, Max's. Obviously, the new trend today is buying online on Instagram. I think you guys are seeing a lot of aburi sushis, steaks being sold, being cooked at home or takeout and delivery. I think that's going to be the trend. So that's why the small, medium entrepreneurs would probably be benefiting more from this. The restaurants, I feel like a lot of restaurants will be closing down shops. There's going to be too many restaurants. I've heard from Starbucks Philippines, this is off the record, I've heard from someone inside Starbucks Philippines that they're shutting down some of the Starbucks stores because some of the tenants don't want to take up the rent. And you'll probably see this very common going forward. And I think unless we start to see more closures, it's probably going to be a little bit more scary on that end. Okay, so I suggest you guys skip to that. And last but not least is home. Okay. This is actually good news and came as a surprise. We talked to Wilcon, and Wilcon said that their sales are back to January levels of pre-COVID. Okay. And actually that came as a big surprise to me. So, and that's the reason why even Camille Villar of All Home, I think she also said that sales have been picking up for All Home as well, right? I think both Home Depots have mentioned that people are now trying to refurbish their homes, trying to get a better work from home office, trying to redecorate their places, and that's why we've seen stocks rise back to pre-COVID levels, especially in January. And they'll probably be more beneficiaries during these times. And it's really up to you guys. You guys can participate. It's quieting down here. I think home needs maybe a week or two more. And then if it starts to break out, you guys can always find a way to participate. Okay, great. Platforms that we're using to trade Hong Kong and US stocks. We always recommend Interactive Brokers, and we're still using that up until today because it's open to everywhere. Platform for options. Well, right now I'm using a private banker, but for options, still Interactive Brokers. I think Jason is using Interactive Brokers for options. Chairman is using Charles Schwab for options. Okay, we'll do another session for options next time. We're just trying to get the hang of things, and most likely we can do a seminar for that as well and open it up to you guys. Thank you, guys. If there's anything else that you need, feel free to ask questions. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something new today. And good luck. Be very picky. That's all I ask from you guys. Please be very picky. And I'll tell you guys should do well over time.